over the last couple of years to continue their path forward, Stanford. Crowd is still filled in nicely here at Riggs despite the rain, and we're underway in the first quarterfinal of the day. Clemson-Stanford here in the ACC. Glad to have you with us alongside Patty Foss, former national champion at UVA. I'm Joe Malfa. Clemson in the orange, left to right. Stanford in the black, from right to left. Be interesting to see in the early going here what this looks like, Patty. Stanford, really since the beginning of October, has been pretty anemic offensively. It's just moments where they've been just short of executing in the final third. They've been good defensively, but they didn't have a win since the calendar turned to October until that dramatic victory last round over Notre Dame. So the question for Stanford is, can they turn that win into some early momentum for an attack that has really been lackluster as of late?
Well, certainly they're looking for a little bit of a spark on the attacking side. That being said, while the results hadn't come for over a month for this Stanford team, they were still putting in quality performances. This is a team that's very organized. They're very tactically sound. Very technically sound. They have a lot of talent on the field. They returned 9 of 11 starters from a very quality squad last year. The question being, though, this is a high-octane Clemson Tiger squad, one that you will almost certainly not be able to shut out. So if you're Jeremy Gunn and Stanford, you have to be looking around, trying to find a goal and trying to find one early to put Clemson on their heels.
Yeah, the early goal has been the problem, though. In their last 10 matches, Stanford just has one first-half goal. That's one goal in 450 minutes of first-half play over the last 10 games. So they're not been answering the bell to your call as far as early fast starts as of late, but it could all change at a moment's notice with these two programs. Dylan Hooper was the star of the week. Chaotic finish that was between Stanford and Notre Dame. 3 combined goals over the last 5 minutes of that game. Stanford took a lead. Notre Dame, on a really crazy play, ended up tying it. And then the goal from beyond midfield to win it with 1 second left for Stanford. Space for Wahab Musa. It's more straightforward for Clemson than the last round. 3-1 victory over Louisville. It was 1-1 early in the second half after back-to-back goals scored by the two teams. Clemson from a penalty. It was Gabay who's on it now. Louisville responded a minute later, and Clemson scored 2 goals in the span of 2 minutes. Got to 3-1, never looked back. Flicked on by Musa. Yoshizawa shoved off the ball, slips a little bit on the slick surface. It's interesting, it was just a miss earlier, but it's become more of a driving rain here and will certainly impact the proceedings.
Well, one thing to look tactically early on here, Joe, is the one change from midweek for Mike Noonan is the insertion of Misei Yoshizawa in that right wing position to play just behind Wahab Musa. The way he's done so is by slotting Remy Okunlola, a player that we usually see on that right wing, back into right center back. So now you have really 3 players that are attacking minded down that right-hand side. Why that's interesting is this Stanford team likes to push Palmer Bank high from that left wing back spot. So it's something to look down that near side here in the first half. Who has the better of the play? Who can push that winger back and perhaps create from those wide areas?
Stanford loves to create on these long throws. Palmer Bank launches it to the penalty spot. Basically on the volley now, it's blocked from the ground by Ransford Gian. I don't know if he knew anything about that, but he got in the way of it. Okunlola streaking ahead, has options, 3-on-1. Okunlola slots it through. Clemson looking for an early lead, and it's defended terrifically. Tracking back by Will Cleary. Oh, it seemed like it would be an easy opportunity for the Tigers, but not meant to be.
Well, this is a golden opportunity early on from Clemson. It's a good slip across to Tyler Trimnell, and ultimately, just 1 second too late are the Clemson Tigers. A 3-on-1 opportunity goes awry without a chance on frame.
Something to keep in the back of your mind, though. Stanford, be it from a corner or from the throw-in like that, they stream numbers forward, leaves them vulnerable in transition at times. Musa delivers, headed away by Hooper. Palmer Bank Rather, Fletcher Bank, excuse me, turns it upfield. That Bank duo down the left side, interchangeable at times as they get forward, have some positional flexibility.
And you see just a good job on the defensive side here from Adam Lundegaard. Put his body in between Fletcher Bank and that ball. Just a little bit of a step on the heel there. Keep in mind, this is going to be a very physical game both ways. There's a lot of athletes on the pitch, and for a college soccer game, you're going to see a very quick tempo.
They give it away here in the middle. Bohane goes for goal. It was dipping, and I think it's because it was deflected. It was. Corner coming for Stanford.
Well, you get a gist of what Zach Bohane is capable in midfield. This is a really good hit that ultimately takes a deflection there from Gabe, or else that one probably the first test for Patrick Donovan.
Talk about Patrick Donovan more as the day goes along. Starting again here for Clemson in relief of the injured Joseph Ndema. It's not quite on the arc there for this corner, but as long as the referees don't notice, he's going to get away with it. Will Riley positions it, sort of. Riley from the corner, sort of, delivers a good ball, but Donovan punches away. Looking all the way back, and good thing for Stanford that Schnebly was as high as he was, because Ransford Gian was waiting to latch onto it. Centered, cleared away by Magnuson. Not far enough. Contact there, free kick coming for Stanford. Very active start between these two sides.
This is just a really clumsy challenge here from Wahab Musa right at the top of the box. That's certainly a foul, and it's a really dangerous opportunity for Stanford. This is about as good a spot as you could expect for a direct free kick chance.
Donovan setting his wall. Just his second career start. Entered the season finale against Virginia Tech in relief of the injured Ndema. Might be carted off. Been Clemson starter for 3 years, Ndema. Quickly having to figure out and move on from life without him. Donovan sets his wall. 5 in that wall. Shane DeFlores right into the wall. DeFlores tries to keep his footing, finds it, tripped down. Another set piece for Stanford.
You see the idea here from Shane DeFlores, trying to whip this one up and over that wall. Not to be, though. Lucas Magnuson takes that one straight off the face, not to allow the chance on frame.
Listen to the thud that made. That was exactly why a lot of people maybe don't like being in the wall. And for me, as somebody who's at 5'6", it was always a benefit to be 5'6", because nobody ever put me in the wall to ever have to deal with that.
I'll tell you what, 55 degrees and it's raining. I do not want that one off the face early on.
Bohane, the left-footed option. Riley, the right-footed option for an in-swinger here. Both fake. Again, now it's Bohane on the ground. And 3 fakes on that free kick. Didn't amount to anything in the end. Clip back over the top. And Fletcher Bank realized he was offside, so did not even give it a chase.
You see just earlier on that corner kick whipped in. Pat Donovan does well to come out and punch. We've talked a little bit already about Pat Donovan now making his second start after coming on for the injured Joseph Ndema. A very strong performance against Louisville. 5 saves, looked the part certainly, but it's a storyline that you're going to want to continue to look at in what is a massive college soccer tilt, only the second start there for the junior.
Especially with the disparity between the two goalkeepers, with Rowan Schnebly on the other side. Last year, his first year as a starter, had a sub-1 goals against average. This year, 17 starts, 17 goals allowed, a 1.0 goals against average. So on one end, the regular starter, who's got a sub-1 goals against for his career. On the other side, guy who's made now just 2 starts, including today, in his collegiate career. Big time difference in this one.
And you see there just the difference in the two keepers on either side. Rowan Schnebly been strong, steady, and consistent for the Cardinals. 17 starts, 17 goals against. Pat Donovan, again, just his fourth game played, second start here tonight, but did look very good in the midweek against a quality Louisville Cardinal side.
End of the bench there with the garbage bag, I think, over the cast and protective equipment on the leg there. Joseph Ndema. A nasty injury that he suffered in that instance. It's tough to see against Virginia Tech. Illuminato centers it, looking for Yoshizawa. Seen punches and counter punches in the first 10 minutes here. Both teams enjoying some time at either end. Nothing to show for it yet. 3 shots for Stanford, no shots yet for Clemson. Ball will trickle out for a throw. It was intended for Yoshizawa. He was the only difference in the starting 11 here for Clemson. Sandy coming out from the back line. Yoshizawa coming into the midfield. Everything else the same. They got the production they wanted last game out of their 3 captains. That's what Mike Noonan said needed to happen here in tournament time. ACC tournament and the national tournament. The 3 captains, can they produce? Lundegaard on the back line. Gabay in the midfield. Meinhard up top. It's Lundegaard defending here. Ball bouncing around. Shout for a penalty there from Stanford. Not much going on. Bank. Space. Bank goes for goal. It's saved by Donovan. First real test he's faced today.
Well, it's a good save in the end here from Patrick Donovan, not only to get there, make the save, but to hold on in wet conditions. But, Joe, through 12 minutes now, we've seen Stanford look really comfortable in possession. They're combining well in and around the block and creating chances. This is really a dream start, with the exception of finding one in the back of the net for the Stanford Cardinal.
And you wonder really how much carryover there is from that dramatic finish against Notre Dame, because, Patty, this is a team that, again, since October 1st, really didn't have a first half that looked like this. It was really methodical, slow, building into games, relying on their defensive efforts and maybe finding a goal late. 0-3-3 from October onward. So maybe there is a lingering effect of the excitement of that win over Notre Dame.
Well, it's a good point, because those type of really emotional games can go one of two ways in the follow-up. You can have really that emotional hangover, or it can be a jump start to your season. I think what you're seeing from this Stanford team is a boost of energy and a real confidence that they've played with here early on. How can Clemson find their way?
Palmer Banks settles, cleared away by Musa, tracking back. The other thing to mention as well, obviously, a big scary moment in that game for Stanford. Dylan Groneveld went down through a collision with the post. Told he's doing all right. A little shaken up, obviously, the group is after seeing it happen, but hoping to win this for him. And Coach Gunn joked that if Groneveld could force his way out there, he would. That's the kind of gamer he is. Wishes he could be out there today. Long throw again from Bank. Reaches the penalty spot. The powerful header ends up out for a goal kick. So you've seen it twice now. He can reach even in these wet conditions, try to dry off the ball as much as he can. He can get that thing out to the penalty spot. So every throw down in that area is essentially a corner kick for Stanford.
Well, it's better than a corner kick. Because of the trajectory of the ball from a long throw, it's such a flat ball. It's so dangerous, especially in these wet conditions, because more often than not, we see a chance on frame, not on the first ball, not on the first header that you're going to win, but on the second one. So really all you're trying to do with that long throw is get some sort of flick. And so with the wet condition, all the more important that Clemson is dialed into each and every one of those long throw-ins.
Criminal couldn't settle. Nice move by Gian. Ransford Gian trying to carve his way through this back line. Meinhard took some contact. Tribunal takes it down. He's trying to find a way through. That's Yoshizawa, excuse me. Meinhard centers. Tribunal was there. Gabay cuts off Bank and is called for the foul.
Some really tidy work there from Ransford Gian in the midfield for Clemson, building into wide areas. You see this ball just squirt out. We're going to see a lot of this today with the wet conditions and two very physical teams, just the ball squirting around and those collisions all across the pitch.
Here's DeFlores. 4 goals, 3 assists this season. After 7 goals and 8 assists last season. You wondered if there'd be some differences in the stats this year for Stanford, having a jump up from the Pac-12 to the ACC. In some cases, that has proven to be true. But they've continued to hold their own, proved to be one of the top programs. Now the other way, and centered in front for Trimnell. Still loose now, poked away. John blasted, took a deflection, and out for a corner. How did that ball stay out?
Well, this is a golden opportunity for the Tigers. It's Alex Meinhard out wide, does really well just to drag this ball and then smash one across the box. It's 2 Clemson players inside the 6-yard box. Neither can poke it home from 18 inches out, and a huge, huge moment here in the first half.
Gian will venture out to take the corner now. So much for maybe a cagey start to this game between 2 of the top teams. No feeling out process necessary, just going all out from the jump. Remember in September, here on this field, it was a 3-2 Stanford win. Gian over everybody. Musa does track it down to keep it alive. Musa. Illuminato calling for it. Musa sort of backed in now. Finds Illuminato in the end. Gabe. Body still committed forward after the corner. Gian. Tries to slip it through for Yoshizawa. Peels off of his defender. And it's kicked out for a throw by Jackson Keel. Second ball in the field for a moment, but no harm, no foul. Carry on. Gabe. Gian in the pocket. Runs for Gian on his preferred left foot. Pushes it out wide. Meinhard. Illuminato back to Meinhard. Nice touch to the end line. Meinhard again fizzes it in front. Blocked out wide. Still loose. Cleared by Nick White. They're finding space down that left side through Meinhard, but Stanford still holding strong.
Well, and this is where Clemson is at their best, when they can overload numbers in wide areas, get to the end line and cut balls back. It's something that Stanford's going to have to address in a hurry, because Clemson having their way.
Slotted through. Trimnell has Yoshizawa streaking. Trimnell taken down. Shout for a penalty. Goes unanswered. Does it get a look? Clemson wants it to.
It's the first big decision from our center referee, Mike Stutt, of the night. Trimnell does well to cut this ball in. It's a good decision in the end, because Tyler Trimnell is always looking for the contact here. And to be honest, now we've seen 2 looks. I'm not sure that there's any there, and he's likely a little bit fortunate not to go into the book for simulation.
There was maybe a touch on the right ankle that ended up clunking the 2 feet together, but that's being generous at best. I think you're right. More lucky to not have a yellow than Clemson is unlucky to not have a penalty. Although we saw maybe something softer given in Clemson's way the other night against Louisville, so can't be too short. Musa. Saw another instance there of Yoshizawa losing his footing. Very soft, damp field. Rain has been steady. Tell you what, Patty, it's almost been as if Mother Nature just wants these games played in a driving rainstorm, because you go back to the game against Louisville. Before the game, it wasn't raining too hard. Then the game started, it started pouring. The rain stopped at halftime, started for the second half. Today, it was misting at best, and then it started pouring before the game and has been ever since. So both these games now, it's just like an on and off switch, and it's picking up when the game is actually happening versus when it's not.
Well, as if this game needed any more to add to 2 fantastic programs. Now we have some rain. Another storyline to watch, as we see historic Ricks Field is a quality surface, one of the best in college soccer. So you would think this field will take on moisture very well. But as it continues to rain and the ball skids around, it certainly is something to look at.
Okunlola, Yoshizawa. Meinhard. Illuminato, those two have worked really well together down that left side. Illuminato now commits the foul. And they've really experienced all the weather so far these last couple of days, Stanford. And I didn't mean all the weather. It was beautiful when they left California. Part of the team ended up getting caught in Denver at the airport, delayed because of a blizzard, and now you end up here playing in a driving rainstorm in your quarterfinal. So all the weathers, all the modes of transportation, all experienced by Stanford the last 48 hours. Goalkeepers will have to be careful not to slip when they plant on these goal kicks or free kicks like this as well. It's the last thing you could afford, a slip, a ball that goes 20 yards instead of 60 yards. And now you're staring down the barrel of a chance for the other team. Musa. Over the top, it was looking in the area of Meinhard and John, but foul against Clemson.
Looking for this ball over the top, just Tyler Trimble running straight into Nick White. And
glad to have you with us here on the ACC Network. Those of you who would have been tuned in to the volleyball match between Wake Forest and Miami. Alongside Patty Foss, I'm Joe Malfa from historic Riggs Field in Clemson. It is number 2 versus number 7 in the seeding in the ACC Men's Soccer Championship in this quarterfinal. First of 4 quarterfinals to be played on this Sunday. We are still scoreless. A lot of historic implications here in this one as well. These two programs have accounted for 5 of the last 9 national titles. Clemson looking to defend its ACC tournament crown. Stanford looking for its first ever ACC tournament title in their first season in the conference. So all of that at stake. You've got two teams who at different moments have been ranked either number 1 or number 2 in the coaches poll this year. Coming into today, not the case. Stanford had tumbled out, just receiving votes. Clemson, meanwhile, coming in ranked number 7, but 2 top RPI teams as well. Stanford at number 9, Clemson at number 17. All of that to say, it should be a good one today, and it has been so far for those of you just joining us through 20 minutes. It's 0-0, but plenty of opportunities at both ends of the field.
Well, it really has, and both of these teams we've talked about are so historically the best of the best. You look at the NCAA titles, 3 in a row for Stanford just a few years ago. Clemson, 4 national titles, but 2 out of the last 3, and then as many conference championships, College Cup appearances as you could imagine. These are 2 of the best teams in college soccer, the best programs in college soccer, and we've seen it through 23 minutes here tonight.
The best of the opportunities so far have belonged to Clemson. A couple of instances where they were at the doorstep and somehow the ball stayed out, be it a defender intervention or a save made. Runs for Gian. Antonio Illuminato delivering for Trimble, and it's over the bar.
Well, we've seen Clemson and how dangerous they've been from the wide areas, especially that left-hand side. This is a world-class ball into the box from Antonio Illuminato, looking for the big 6'3" frame of Tyler Trimble. He does so well to go up, find that ball, just can't quite knot it down to that far post, but the best chance of the afternoon here goes awry for Tyler Trimble.
Tyler Trimble, one of the heroes, ended up scoring in that Elite 8 matchup last year. These two teams played in the Elite 8, 2-0 win for Clemson. Went on to win a 2nd national title in 3 years. These teams also met in the 2015 national title game, the first of Stanford's 3 in a row. They met in the Elite 8 in 2019 here at Riggs as well. So they've met on some of the biggest stages in the national tournament. Now for the first time in the ACC tournament. Patty, you've been a part of both. A lot of coaches will say it's tougher to win the ACC tournament at times than it is the national tournament. Obviously, one's looked at as the bigger prize, a national title, but because the level is so great through and through in the ACC, often more difficult to win this tournament.
I think that's right. I think without question, actually, it's more difficult to win the ACC tournament just because you have to win 4 games against the nation's best in very quick succession in the span of less than 2 weeks. And so when we talk about the ACC and the depth, you start to see it play out in the ACC tournament, and just the quality that you have across the board. We see it, of course, in each and every one of our quarterfinalists, but in the first round as well. There just isn't an easy game anywhere in the conference.
Stanford was really flying out of the gate to begin their ACC existence. 8-1-1 to start their season. At the time, they were the #1 team in the coaches poll, and they ended up from there having a bit of a downswing in the results, at least. 0-3-3 to finish out the regular season. Head coach Jeremy Gunn, though, believes that they continue to perform well despite the lack of results. It looks like Coach Gunn and Coach Noonan are having some words now down on the sideline as well.
We knew this was going to be an emotional, physical, quick game back and forth, and we've already seen it so early on here. See Alex Meinhard go into the book there for a little bit of a softer challenge here, though. I think what our referee Mike Studd is saying is for persistent infringement across the teams. We've seen just a little bit of a bump there, and unfortunately just a crash into that scoreboard. But buckle up, folks, because this is going to be the name of the game all afternoon long. These are two teams that love their physicality.
And for those of you who weren't with us on the app and just joined us on the network, you didn't miss a moment like this in the first 20 minutes, but I'm sure, Patty, this won't be the last of these moments that we see over the course of the 90 or the 110 or whatever it may be. This is only going to continue to get more and more intense as we get deeper and deeper in this game.
That's right, that's right. And listen, these are two teams that have a ton of respect for one another, but don't like each other. We've seen so many big matchups between these two clubs in the NCAA tournament, in NCAA championship games, and now with a spot in the ACC semi in Cary, North Carolina on the line. This is going to be a really, really fun match to watch through the next 65 minutes.
Clemson cruised in their opening round matchup against Louisville. First half that finished 0-0, and then they outscored Louisville 3-1 in that second half. Never looked back after they got rolling. And to be fair, it probably should have been a goal or 2-0 in Clemson's favor at halftime, despite it being 0-0. They just thoroughly ran through Louisville without really any hiccups. The only goal scored by Louisville was a volley from outside the box, sort of caught everybody by surprise. Okunlola, author of one of those goals for Clemson in that 3-1 win. He scored the third to put it out of reach. Palmer Bank centers, bodies are there, and Donovan has it. Zach Bohane could not make as good a contact as he was hoping for. Just glanced off the top of his head. Patrick Donovan, starting his second game in a row, came in for an injured Joseph Endema against Virginia Tech in the regular season finale. Donovan acquitting himself well so far to come in cold and just figure it out. 5 saves against Louisville. 1 save that he made today on the dive, left no rebound. Really organized back there. High IQ, was always a good study, even when he was the backup, just in case his moment came, and it has now. Ransford Gian to the end line, unable to keep it in, and it's out for a goal kick. Stanford had a bit of a different path to this game. It was not necessarily as easy as it was for Clemson once they were able to coast through. Stanford with one of the more dramatic finishes that you'll see around the country, not just in this tournament or even when we get to the NCAA tournament, but just all season long, the way they were able to get past Notre Dame in that first round matchup. And the way it happened, again, it was just 3 goals total over the last 5 minutes, and this one with 1 second left on the clock from Hooper beyond midfield.
Well, this is a goal that you won't likely see again for a long, long time in college soccer. Just lobs one up. Credit to Dylan Hooper. That ball is about as perfectly placed as you can from 75 yards, but a shocking, shocking goal to finish that game and send the Cardinal here to Clemson.
And in case any of you are not quite sure, if that would have not crossed the line yet when the clock hit 0, it would not have counted. It's not like professional soccer where you've got stoppage time or something to the effect where once the ball leaves the air. Think more like hockey or basketball, or rather hockey, excuse me. It's got to cross the line before it ends up hitting 0. It's not like basketball where you can take the shot at point 3 and it could cross after the buzzer. That one had to get to the goal in a hurry, and it did. And now, after what we saw on the sideline moments ago, tempers flaring again here. We warned you it would start to get like this. Not really quite sure what sparked this whole thing, and just a bunch of bodies around. A lot of shouting, a lot of shoving. And the referee is going to come over to check out the monitor. Something he saw in there that needs a second look for a potential red card again. Patty, I missed it. I was looking around at the guys, and it all escalated pretty quickly. I never noticed what sparked the whole thing. We'll see if we get a look at it here as our referee, Mike Stutt, goes over to the monitor.
Well, it was a crunching tackle initially on Misei Yoshizawa there in midfield, but for me, that's certainly not what Mike Stutt has got to be looking at. So he must think there's potential violent conduct. We'll get a look back at it when we can, but again, we told you this was going to be a physical game. We told you these are two teams that don't like each other. There's a lot of time left in this match. So regardless of the outcome of this video review, Mike Stutt, our center referee, has got to get involved and not allow for shenanigans like what we've seen here in the last 10 minutes.
Nothing there. Just two guys, 50-50 ball coming together. Bank was just keeping his balance as he got away from Yoshizawa. Didn't see anything yet that would have warranted a red card for either side. Now players shoving. Anything you're seeing, Patty, that I'm seeing differently than you?
No, and I think that's, I mean, it's a crunching tackle from Palmer Bank, but it's not a foul, and you feel sorry for Misei Yoshizawa. It's a tough one to take that challenge. There's a little bit of a scuffle here, but nothing for me.
Yeah, and that is the verdict we're being told after the review. And nothing there. The crowd doesn't like it, but if they saw the looks we saw, I think they would agree. The only thing there, maybe, Patty, was if there was a little shove down from Bank into Yoshizawa once he was on the ground, but after seeing the replays, it just looked like Bank was keeping his balance. It didn't look like anything malicious where he was shoving him down in the ground.
That's right. I think he just came down straight on top of Misei Yoshizawa. You'll get one more look here. It is a really quality challenge there. Follows through into Misei Yoshizawa, but there maybe a little bit extra from Palmer Bank, but not enough to see red.
Yeah, at very least, it's a gray area. Was he trying to keep his balance? Was he trying to be sneaky? And the method, or rather the vocab that we need to be considering here is clear and obvious. There was nothing that was clear or obvious about that being violent conduct that would lead to Bank being tossed here.
That being said, the emotions of this game are
Ransford John sneaks it through. Musa and left it well wide. Well, the goalkeeper matchup very different in this one. Stanford with their top guy Rowan Schnebly over the last 2 years been terrific. 1 goals against average this year, but Patrick Donovan, his 3rd game overall, just his 2nd start in his Clemson career.
Well, Schnebly's a known commodity. His 2nd year starting, he's been fantastic between the pipes for Stanford. Pat Donovan, we've talked about it a little already. This is his 4th appearance, only his 2nd start, both of which have come in the ACC tournament. He's done well thus far, but it's something to watch as this game ticks down in the final hour.
Yoshizawa. Musa steps on it. Ransford John there. He goes down. Didn't seem to be much. Back out to Yoshizawa. John turning, going for goal. Saved by Schnebly. Rebound was juicy, but nothing there in the end for Clemson. A step too slow. So difficult trying to defend Ransford John. Low center of gravity, quick with the ball at his feet. He's proven to be one of the top freshmen in the ACC this year. Musa finds Ransford Gian, stands at just 5'4" in the midfield. Meinhard looking through. One came out of the back line by Illuminato. Not afraid to step up. Corner coming.
Well, it's really good combination play here from Misei Yoshizawa and Ransford Gian. That is a tremendous turn there from Gian to not only find the ball, but to put one on frame. Then you see from the other side, again, Alex Meinhard has been so active down that left-hand side.
Now from the corner, Musa was tracking it. Comes all the way out for a goal kick. This is what we saw for Clemson against Louisville last game. They heated up in the final quarter hour of the first half, and then they parlayed that into an early second half goal.
Well, they did, and they got going there towards the end of the first half in that game against Louisville. But one thing that's interesting here this afternoon, Joe, is for the number of the last few games, we've seen Clemson come out in a 3-4-3, and that's really been how they've liked to get at teams. Today, though, it looks almost like a 4-3-3 in that Antonio Illuminato and Remy Okunlola, who's been inserted into the back line, are both bombing forward from those wide areas and really adding numbers to the Clemson attack, getting overloads in wide areas, and they're having a lot of success in creating chances from those wide spots.
It's a lot of faith they're putting into Lundegaard and Magnuson to just be the two guys back at midfield when they attack Clemson. But part of that, Patty, is the Stanford attack really hasn't done anything over the last month of the season. So maybe they do have a little bit more security in the back of their minds.
Well, that's right, and for most of the time, it's a Stanford back five, and so it's by putting numbers forward, you're forcing Palmer Bank and Will Cleary, those wing backs for Stanford, to drop deep and be defenders first. That means that a lot of this game in the first half has been played in the Clemson attacking half. A good side for Mike Noonan and this Tiger squad.
Just a talking to for Ransford Gian after that foul.
Well, it's a good recovery run there from Ransford Gian, and you see what Mike Studd is talking to him about his reaction and the visceral reaction it was. But I think the freshman's got a point. He did really well to drop back, poke that ball away, and for me, it's a little bit of a harsh foul.
Noah Adnan lobs it toward the corner. Gian picks it up. Here's next week's featured women's basketball game right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. Kyra Wood leads Syracuse against number 18 Maryland at the JMA Wireless Dome. Coverage begins Wednesday night at 7 Eastern. Free kick coming now for Stanford. A little tug from behind by Lundegaard. This is essentially going to be a corner kick here with where it's located.
They see more physicality there with Adam Lundegaard and Jackson Kill, and ultimately just a little bit too much from Lundegaard. And you're right, this is a spot, it's essentially a corner kick. It's a Stanford team, though, very good on set pieces, and so they haven't had a ton of going forward here in the last 20 minutes of this game, but can they manufacture something on the set piece here?
Swung in near post, and it's friendly fire there. It was Lundegaard who made contact. It'll be a corner now from the opposite side.
Well, this is a really dangerous ball, whipped in at that near post. A good spot. Ultimately, Remy Okunlola does just enough to flick it to the back post, but that is a quality chance for Stanford.
That in-swinger near post, always so dangerous. Now from the opposite corner again, Will Riley. Much like his first corner from this side, not quite on the line, but close enough. Riley delivers, drops it again. near post, kept alive by Bank. Still bouncing around, flag comes up. As coming back to receive the ball was Noah Adnan. Here are next week's featured men's basketball games right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. It's doubleheader Friday night that starts at 6 Eastern with the Sunshine State rivalry between number 21 Florida and Florida State. Follow that by number 9 North Carolina hosting American University at the Dean Smith Center. And then Saturday at noon Eastern, freshman phenoms Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple lead the Blue Devils against Wofford. Eleven and a half to go in this first half. 4 shots for Stanford, 5 for Clemson, a shot on target each. Better of the scoring chances have favored Clemson so far. Only yellow card belongs to Alex Meinhard on the Clemson side.
Well, you can see what Stanford's trying to do, get this ball in behind that back line of Clemson. Again, it's Adam Lundegaard coming across and winning the free kick. That time, Fletcher Bank, the aggressor.
Gabe battling. Haven't really called his name a lot in this one. Been quiet in the defensive midfield. Ransford John has been anything but quiet. Here he goes again. Up the left side for Meinhard to the end line. Bodies in front, took a deflection out for a corner. All the sparks they've had offensively, Patty, have come down that left side.
Well, Ransford John has been the best player on the field all afternoon. You see just how much sauce the freshman had. Just a little bit of a spin move there in the midfield, and then a good slip in behind. Again, looking for Alex Meinhard, who's done so well in getting in good spots, getting the ball to that end line, and putting in service.
Now from the corner, it's similar to what we saw on the other end. Defensive header by Stanford that put things in a bit of peril. Corner coming for Clemson.
Good service, whipped into the box here from Gabe, and you see Rowan Schnebly coming out for that ball, and you're right, just a flick over the top, just as we saw on the other side of the field, and a second one here coming from Gian.
In-swinger coming from Gian. You see on this side where the assistant referee occupies this half of the field, this one's actually on the corner arc. Not the same advantage that Will Riley had at the other end. Nonetheless, well, it's wasted from Clemson before anything could come in that ball from John. A foul against the Tigers in the box. And coming up at the half, we would take a look around the ACC Men's Soccer Championship, preview the upcoming quarterfinals still to come today. 3 more coming your way. It's the 5-seed Wake Forest against the 4-seed SMU, 11-seed Cal against the 3-seed Duke, and the 9-seed UVA against the 1-seed Pitt to cap things off. 4 games all in a row here in the ACC Men's Soccer Championship. All teams bidding for a trip to Cary. Semifinals will come this week, Thursday in Cary. Final will be contested there as well on the weekend. Clemson looking to defend their title. Stanford looking for their first ACC title and their first year in the conference. Another corner now for Clemson. That's 3 in a row. At some point you're playing with fire against this Clemson team and their capabilities on set pieces.
Well, their capabilities and their size. You know, we talk about Clemson and just how many targets they have. We saw the last ball here from Gabe come to that near post. See if you can get one of those big bodies to the near post and direct this one on frame.
Gabe, it's flicked on, back post, Musa off the bar, still loose now, and it stayed out.
Well, we just said it. Can you get a ball to the near post and get a big body on it? That happened. Adam Lundegaard, a great flick to the back post. Wahab Musa, that header has got to be one that you snap down. Unfortunately for the freshman, he just snatches at it, puts it off the bar, and this game somehow still scoreless.
It's how they scored one of their goals against Louisville. That flick out at the near post from Lundegaard, and then it was Meinhard on the back end to head it home. Basically the same thing, copy-paste here for Clemson, just not the end result. And going over to the monitor to check if there was any contact in the box that would have led to a penalty. I think that's what we have here. There's no question whether the ball crossed the line. Certainly stayed out. You did see some Clemson players, they were arguing that there was contact. It was, I believe, Meinhard leading the way there, trying to illustrate that he got tugged in the mix.
Well, you see Meinhard just
across the line.
Your screen there. Yeah, but it's Meinhard just in the center of your screen there. There's definitely nothing there on the grad student Meinhard.
No, they were just crossing the sea in the end if it crossed the line. Thought Clemson was able to persuade him to go over and see if there was a foul the way they were arguing, but it was just a quick check to see if it crossed the line, and it wasn't even close. So no harm, no foul. We play on. Some changes out of that break there for Stanford. Shane DeFlores will go take a seat. So will Jackson Keel. Changes on that top line. Alex Chow comes on. So too does Alfonso Tenconi Gradias. Mason Jimenez for Misei Yoshizawa on the Clemson side. Sure what the referee is signaling over to the fourth official here. He's tapping on his watch. Clock is running right now. I think he just they forgot to start the clock after that last stoppage, so they're winding some time off right now. So he was just relaying to the players, and now they'll get it going on the drop ball. Not often we see the contested drop ball anymore, Patty. You get a few kicked shins in the mix there. Well, after all that, free kick coming for Clemson in the attacking half. Stanford is without a shot over the last 25 minutes of play. It's really starting to mimic the first round matchup for Clemson, where early on there were chances for Louisville, and then Clemson shut the door, dominated the rest of the first half. Louisville, I believe, in that one had a half-hour drought without a shot at the end of the first half as Clemson wrestled control. So we're getting close to that same thing here. It's been 25 minutes for Stanford.
Well, the big
coming out of the gates in the second half there, Clemson got the goal.
Well, I was just going to say the big difference in this match is that the first 10 minutes of this game, Stanford came out and they pressed Clemson deep in their own half, made it really tough for the Tigers to build out through possession. That's the same story that we saw, as you know, against Louisville for this Clemson first round matchup. But since then, we've seen a lot of comfortable build from Clemson and really having their way through possession, getting at Stanford, creating really good chances. And if this match goes 0-0 into the break, you got to think Jeremy Gunn will feel very fortunate in not giving up a goal against a Clemson team that has looked very solid on the attacking side of things.
They would like to try and thwart the momentum a little bit if they can, though, Stanford, because one thing Clemson's done a great job of this year is carrying that late first half momentum into the second half. More of that in a second. Meinhard tries to cut through. Stanford holds strong. But this season, Clemson has 13 goals in the opening 10 minutes of the second half. And in a lot of those cases, it stems from momentum they built at the end of the first half, that they make some small tweak here or there. They come out roaring in the second half and get the goal. So something to keep in mind as well. Can Stanford maybe at least stop some of that momentum and find something of their own in the late stages of this first half to try and stop what Clemson's basically done all year to teams? Corner from Gabe. Did not get the flick on this time from Lundegaard. Referee pointed the wrong way. And it'll be a Stanford throw. Stanford coming in number 9 in the RPI. That's 8 spots better than Clemson. Part of that is just the imbalance that we saw in the way the schedules broke out for these two teams this year. Much more difficult schedule faced by Stanford. If you look at the teams in the ACC that are in the top 25 of the coaches poll, this Clemson team, the only team they faced was UNC. We're able to avoid the rest of them. Stanford, the opposite. They faced 5 of the teams that were in the top 25 of the 6 teams in the ACC. So a much more difficult schedule for Stanford. Leaves you wondering, if the seedings are misleading when Clemson at 2, Stanford at 7. Jeremy Gunn sort of alluded to that in our conversation, where it's maybe a bit of an imbalance, but it's the way the chips fell this year.
Well, it does create an interesting conversation around not only the ACC tournament, but the implications of this match for the NCAA tournament. Because at 17 in the RPI for Clemson, that's sort of fringe territory. The top 16, of course, get first-round byes and are to host in that first round. You would think a team that's ranked number 7 in the coaches poll, and obviously one of the, if not the best team in the country in Clemson, they're not going to be punished for a strength of schedule. But when we get to tournament time, the committee does tend to lean on the RPI more heavily. And so this match, not only for Clemson at 17 the RPI, but for Stanford at number 9, massive NCAA seeding implications and a real opportunity for one of these teams to bolster that resume.
Something to keep in mind as well as you're going through watching the rest of our quadruple header today. You saw Cal there, right inside the top 50, coming off that win against UNC, sitting at 500 in their record. If they go ahead and knock off Duke today, you're going to start having a conversation about Cal maybe being an at-large bid, depending on how things end up falling around the rest of the country. That's just based on their strong closing kick here. So all of that comes into play throughout the day, and that's what you get come the ACC tournament, because every game you're playing is going to be a game that helps your RPI in such a stacked conference. So you never know how things might shake out in the end. Final 2 minutes of this first half. It's back to Hooper. We're almost getting into his territory here. Maybe he finds another goal with 1 second left on the clock. That's how they got here. Their win over Notre Dame last round. Stanford has been thriving this year in late game situations. 19 of their 29 goals this season have come in the second half. 15 of those have come in the final 20 minutes. They often leave it late. Can they find something, though, here late in the first half? Bank centers. Headed on, chested down. Trying the turn here. It's Bank. Still Bank looking at goal, deflected out for a corner. Fletcher Bank almost finished off with Palmer. Bank started.
Well, Fletcher Bank has had a really good first half, not only on the attacking side, he's done a lot on the defensive. Here you see, though, coming across, finding just a little bit of window space to smash him with that left foot. Ultimately, it's a good block from Remy Okunlola not to allow a chance on frame, but Fletcher Bank, a good individual effort here late in the first half.
Haven't been too threatening on these corners, Stanford. There again, you see exactly how far off the line that ball is. Same luxury not afforded at the other end to Rensford Gian. Assistant referee has to stop at the halfway line here. Riley sends it in. Well, the extra few inches there did not help. He left that short still. And the offside.
And a little more power to whip that ball in. Didn't see it on that one, but that's the reasoning in trying to take those few extra inches from Will Riley.
Take down the reigning conference champions. We'll see how half number 2 and maybe beyond plays out, and away we go in this second half. Stanford in the black left to right, Clemson in the orange right to left. Glad to have you with us alongside Patty Foss. I'm Joe Malfa. First of 4 quarterfinals, all in a row coming at you on the ACC network today. It'll be Wake Forest and SMU following our game. For Stanford, you have to be aware in the early going here in the second half. Clemson does so well coming out of the gates. Again, 13 goals this season in the opening 10 minutes of second half play. Yoshizawa back out there now to start this second half. He was given a breather at the end of the first half by Mason Jimenez. Now Illuminato. And Illuminato ends up committing the foul, barreling into his defender there, Will Cleary.
Well, it's more what we saw in that first half, and Antonio Illuminato bombing down that left-hand side. This time, that's going to be a little bit of a stinger for Will Cleary. He stands his ground, doesn't allow Illuminato, and just picks up the foul to get Stanford and relieve some of that pressure.
Ron Schnebly made just one save in that first half, but there were plenty more threats. Remember, Clemson hit the crossbar. There was that awkward one on the line where you had Trimnell and Musa sort of cancel each other out. And ball deflected away from the goal line, what seemed like it could have been a short tap in. On the other side, Patrick Donovan just the one save, and really the only time he was tested. Yellow card to remember from the first half, Alex Meinhard, that's all on the Clemson side. Ransford Gian gave it away. Trying the left side through Palmer Bank. Met immediately by Okunlola. Musa tried to go. It's something we've seen as a theme in this one, Patty. Clemson trying to get out in transition, use their athleticism whenever they do win possession back.
Well, this time you see Fletcher Bank popping up on that left-hand side. Just too many orange shirts to beat the man running down individually. But for Stanford, can you start to get a little bit more possession in your attacking half? Now we've seen the Cardinal come out a few times in the opening minutes of the second half, win possession. But can they start to put some passes together? We know this is a talented Stanford midfield, but if you're going to play this Clemson team straight up, you have to expect to take care of the ball, and you can't be running as much as we saw them in the first half. So something to watch are the legs of Stanford. Talk about that cross-country trip, and a lot of energy expended here in the opening 49 minutes.
Physical play from the first half continuing on here in the early going in this second half. Gabe. I'd like to see Gabe get more involved in the midfield as this one goes along for Clemson, helping pull the strings from his deep lying position. He's sent out to the right side now. Musa won't latch onto it. Well, we're in the men's soccer championship here. We had a wrap-up in the women's soccer championship earlier today. Florida State downing UNC 3-2, and has 5 straight ACC tournament titles now for Florida State, and 10 of the last 12. Seminoles continue to just dominate.
Well, I think we've gotten our answer as to if Brian Penske was going to be able to continue the dominance that Mark Krikorian had for so many years at Florida State. Just absolutely the cream of the crop are the Seminoles on the women's side.
Still looking back on it, funny to think that people did doubt that for a second. Anytime you're going to get a coaching change, you still wonder. I mean, just take a look to a different sport, football, and Alabama going from Saban and now to DeBoer. Like, it's a different sort of conversation, sure, but same principle. A lot of success. New coach comes in. Can you keep it up? Answer yes for Florida State.
Well, and you have to give kudos to Damon Nahas and the job he's done in taking over from Anson Dorrance. You know, that was a Carolina team that was up 2-1 in that match and looking like they might win an ACC title. They've been quality all year long, and both the Tar Heels and the Seminoles on the women's side, they're national title contenders, and look for a potential rematch of that one that we just saw this afternoon.
You have to keep an eye out and see if UNC removes that interim tag from Coach Nahas after the season he had, stepping in for a legend Anson Dorrance. Bank. Floats it over the top. A lot of contact there in the middle as DeFlores was able to battle through the hand fighting and find the chance, but put it wide.
Well, this is better from Stanford. We talk about how much success Clemson's had from wide. This is Stanford from wide. A good ball into the box, looking to that back post, and Shane DeFlores, very physical there, and a lot of hand fighting, as you note. Ultimately, DeFlores can't put that one on frame, but one of the best looks of the night for the Cardinal.
Stanford have been good defensively throughout, despite their lack of results since the calendar turned to October. Just the question is, can they find a goal now to buoy their chances at the other end? Then again, you don't need one. You could go 0-0 penalties, hits a way through, and Stanford under Coach Gunn have a terrific track record in penalties, so you never know, but I'm sure they'd like to polish it off at 90 if they can. Different story for Clemson. On the other hand, after the calendar turned to October for Clemson, they've scored multiple goals in every game. They're averaging nearly 4 goals a game, and here they go. Musa breaking out as Trimnell and Meinhard in the middle. Still Musa, patient, cutting in, laying it off. Gian switches for Illuminato. Has to scamper out wide to latch onto it. Slows down the momentum of that attack. Still in that window of the first 10 minutes in this second half, where Clemson have been so lethal. 13 goals in the first 10 minutes of second half. Chance here. Yoshizawa springs it through. It's saved by Schnebly, diving at his near post. And the offside flag came up very late.
Ultimately, for Clemson in knocking this ball around, Stanford has dropped deep. See here, Musa just a step early there in the end, but Clemson's doing a really good job finding pockets of space in between the lines of Stanford and continue to play through possession despite what has become a little bit of a low block from the Cardinal.
Coach Gunn talked about the biggest quality that teams need to go on and win championship speed in conference or on the national level. It all comes down to having a steel backbone in his eyes. And again, through it all, this last stretch for Stanford, despite their lack of success in the attacking end and not finding results, the backbone's there. Tough to break down. And those are the teams that go on to make runs and win championships. The teams that you can't score on.
You see yet more physicality there from Jackson Kill and Adam Lundegaard. That's been a battle we've watched all day long. Ultimately, though, just a little bit of in the back there is Kill on Lundegaard, and Mike Studd gives us a decision coming out with a Clemson free kick.
Given away through the middle here by Clemson. One right back, though, by Magnuson. Gabe. Yoshizawa. And now Illuminato playing it through. Knocked out for a throw. Well read by Noah Adnan. Yoshizawa in the corner. Kept his footing, kept the ball in play. Illuminato serves. Schnebly got a weird read on it. Slipped, it looked like, off his line initially, but has it no trouble in the end.
Well, again, it's this left-hand side through Antonio Illuminato. That's a good ball in. Just looking for that skip. Rowan Schnebly, who we haven't called his name a ton here this afternoon, does a good job coming out, being proactive, and going to win that ball.
Bank. Fletcher, that is. Drops it back. Bohane floats it. Keel was lurking. And it's all the way out for a goal kick. So they've done what a lot of teams have failed to do this year, Stanford. They've navigated the first 10 minutes of the second half without conceding against Clemson.
Well, they've looked better in doing it. This is another good, we saw in the opening half, a good first 10 minutes from Stanford. Now the second half, we've seen a good 10 minutes, starting to build a little bit more through possession and a little bit more of a back and forth match.
Yoshizawa now driving at the back line. Yoshizawa out to Meinhard. Alex Meinhard, patient, lays it off for Gian. Quick give and go with Yoshizawa. Ransford Gian goes for goal, saved by Schnebly. They don't need a lot of space, those two, Yoshizawa and Gian. So quick with the ball at their feet.
Well, and again, we see the combination play for Clemson in and around that box. This time, it's Gian and Yoshizawa. Just falls in the end to Ransford Gian and pokes at that one, trying to get his big toe on it, just force something on frame. It's a good effort from the freshman, but Rowan Schnebly, a good positioning and an easy save in the end.
Schnebly has been doing all the things he's had to do today. The best chances again for Clemson have actually not technically counted as shots on target. He's made the saves he's had to make. Tied for first in the ACC in clean sheets. When I say their best chances again don't show up on the stat sheet, Clemson. The shots on target, think back again. The one off the crossbar from Musa. The other ball that just sat in the six that there was some friendly fire on. And it was Trimnell and Musa who canceled each other out. Could have been a tap-in. So their two best looks didn't amount to saves, but Schnebly is taking care of business when he's had to, and now Patrick Donovan will have to do the same on the other side. Corner for Stanford. Bohane drops it in. Shot for a handball there from Stanford. Ends up cleared by Clemson. Hooper skies it. Up through the rain. Comes down. Turning, latching onto it, and centering it here for Clemson. Rather for Stanford. Will Cleary was still up there after the corner. Gian breaking away. Ransford Gian. Dangerous with a full head of steam. Pushes it to Musa. Floated to the back post, but nobody made that run. Everybody came near post for Clemson. Gabe brought down by Bohane. Oh, Patty, if I know anything about you, you're not going to like this call. I think you're going to think it's all ball, but we're going to get a second look.
Well, even if it's not all ball, it's a good challenge from Zach Bohane, because if Jabe gets around the corner and goes again, this is a Clemson team that had numbers in the box. So if nothing else, it's a solid professional foul. We'll get a look back here in a second. This is the earlier one from Ransford. Gian does really well driving at the back line. It's a clip over the back from Wahab Musa. Nobody on that back post. Meinhard does really well, though, to keep this ball in. We're going to look right here, though, at that tackle. Nope, that's a foul.
Okay. Every now and then you side with a referee. I'm glad we finally found that time. It's the only one of the day, fans, so don't think it's going to happen again.
Referees, maybe the toughest job in soccer, but that doesn't mean we can give him a free pass. Mike Stutt does a good job there to be right on the spot. Yellow card to Zach Bohane for stopping that play with a professional foul.
Conversation ongoing there on the sideline is a nosebleed for Lucas Magnuson. Clemson wants him to be allowed back out there because obviously he's a big target on these set pieces, but because he had to receive the attention, he has to stay off until he's waved back on once play resumes. Although from this angle for Clemson, I don't know if it's best aimed at a service anyway. Go out wide and see what you can do from there. Meinhard touches it by Cleary. Meinhard on the ground, all the way through for Gian. It's blocked. Driven by Okunlola, comes out to Meinhard. Still alive here for Clemson. Illuminato ends the threat. Ransford Gian really thought it was the moment, just fell to his knees. Wonder where that would have ended up if not for the block.
Well, this is top class on the left-hand side from Alex Meinhard. Not only the initial touch there, which is perfection, but to cut this one back, pick your head up, and then pick out non-rushing Ransford Gian. A tremendous ball. Gian, the initial one's blocked. The second one's blocked. Falls back to Meinhard, who just lays one off in the end, and Illuminato can't put that one on frame. But you are seeing why Alex Meinhard is just pure class on that left-hand side. A tremendous sequence there from the grad student.
It's feeling like it did at the end of the first half, where Clemson is getting close, but not finding it. Mike Noonan talked about it going into the break. The chances were there, just not falling yet. Continuing to create. Now it's Stanford the other way in transition. Bank cutting in. Fletcher Bank slows it down. Fletcher Bank goes for goal. It's blocked. And it will go out for a corner.
I'll tell you what, Stanford hasn't had a ton going forward, but when they have, it's been through the feet of Fletcher Bank. Again, this is an individual effort. He just pushes to that favored left foot and has a good go on goal, only to be blocked from Lucas Magnuson.
Will Riley wearing the captain's armband for Stanford. Senior from Georgia, ever present, rock solid in the midfield, who's developed so well year over year in the system under Coach Gunn. 3 assists this year. Now from the corner, good service there. Got it right where he wanted it. The front of the 6. Now it's Ransford Gian breaking away. Has that speed to cause chaos. Ransford Gian with the cavalry arriving. Gian looking through, finds Meinhard. Alex Meinhard cuts inside. Meinhard! Gian and Meinhard get it done for Clemson. They lead at Riggs.
Well, it's initially just pure quality from the freshman Ransford Gian in midfield. This ball turns over, finds the feet of Ransford Gian, and he makes no mistake. He knows exactly what he wants to do with this ball and just drives 70 yards down the pitch with that blazing speed that we've seen time and again this afternoon. It's a simple slip in the end, but then this is top quality from Alex Meinhard. So much composure in the box, not to snatch at that one with his left foot, but to decide, hey, I'm going to cut this one back to my favorite right, picks his head up and just slots home to the far post. Nothing Rowan Schnebley can do. 1-0 Clemson Tigers.
Alex Meinhard, 10 goals now this year. Ransford Gian, 6 assists now this year as a freshman. Talking to Coach Noonan, both ahead of the Louisville game and ahead of this one, he asked for his best players to step up, meaning his captains, Lundegaard, Gabay, Meinhard. They've all factored into the scoring. Meinhard gets another. He also went on to mention Gian, who's been great as a freshman. Highlighted his captains, but also gave a nod to Gian. The guys who he needs answering the bell are answering the bell, and Clemson has a 1-0 lead.
Well, Ransford Gian does not look like a freshman, I'll tell you that right now. He plays with so much class in that midfield. It's a player that we saw initially in the start of this season in a really forward position across that front 3. About a month ago, Mike Noonan dropped him into midfield, and he's dropped even deeper to places where he can pick up the ball and drive, just the way we saw in that opening goal. A pure game changer is the freshman Ghanaian Ransford Gian.
And it's really interesting. You never know what might seem like it's going to be a problem turns into a good thing. And Mike Noonan, in the game on the road against Louisville, he saw Gabay go down with an injury. It looked very scary. Gabay ends up coming back the following game. He's fine. But in that game, that's when Gian dropped deep into the midfield and embraced the role that you were just alluding to, Patty. So it seemed like they were about to lose Gabay for a lengthy period of time. Instead, they still have Gabay, and they stumble into Gian taking on a different role that suited him so well.
Right, and now that's the pairing, Gabay and Gian. And we've seen lately Gabay dropping a little bit deeper to allow Gian to get into the attack from that deep lying midfield. It's worked just beautifully for this Clemson Tiger team. And now you're starting to see a team hitting their stride, hitting their rhythm at the right time with a 1-0 lead against a quality Stanford Cardinal team here in the ACC quarters.
And Patty, you mentioned it'd be tough to shut out this Clemson team, so Stanford was going to have to find a goal of their own at some point. Now they're required to, obviously. But Clemson, they have not been shut out this year. They've kept that streak going now with the goal today. They have not had a season end, Clemson, without being shut out since 1993. So it'd be the first season in over 3 decades where they do not get shut out in a season if they can keep it going. They kept it going today, at least. And when this team scores first, they are tough to beat. Obviously, it helps that it came later in the game here. Not much time to have to defend this lead, but that record speaks for itself. 153, 14, and 13 when scoring first. They know how to shut the door under Mike Noonan.
Well, they do. And now on the flip side, what does Stanford do? Because they've been pushed deep into their own half for long periods of this game. Now you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to commit some numbers forward and start to go at Clemson. See if you can get this game to open up and find an equalizer here with 26.5 to play.
Riley. We really haven't called the names of DeFlores or Keel much. The two strikers for Stanford been held completely in check. Combined for 8 goals this season. Gabay wins it. Sharon Gabay feeding it through. It's picked off at the last second by Palmer Bank. This is getting closer to the time, though, where Stanford comes alive. 15 goals this season in the final 20 minutes of play. And beyond that, they had 10 goals in the final 10 minutes of play this season. Had a knack for the late drama. Getting into that zone now. Crowd here at Riggs, braving the rain. Will they see Clemson take another step toward another conference title? The last time they did it, it was at home. They were able to celebrate here, but this year, neutral site. We head into Cary for the Final Four in the title game. Cary not too far away, though. Sure, there'll be plenty of Clemson support in attendance should they go on to hold on here. Meinhard, goal scorer. Favorable bounce here from Meinhard. Had no business with that, but hit off his knee and into space perfectly. Meinhard cuts back inside, still with it somehow for Meinhard. And it is still in play. Gabay. Musa slides it through again. Yoshizawa. More methodical now from Clemson in the attacking half. Keep the ball, milk the clock, still find the bonus goal if you can. That's the name of the game for the Tigers. Slipped over the top from Bohane. And one back by Clemson. Lundegaard. Clear out challenge there. This one might be red. Oh, yellow, and the Clemson bench immediately, just by their reaction, they seem to want more. It looked very clumsy. The Clemson bench not happy that the color of this card is yellow.
Well, and you see Jeremy Gunn talking to Fletcher Bank, likely saying, you got to settle down. That's completely unnecessary. It's clumsy at the least, and we'll get a look back at it here in a second, but Fletcher Bank completely mistimes the challenge. You see the fans know what color they want.
I think they're going to take a look at it. Patty, initial reaction, we'll see the close-ups, see the slow-mos. Initial reaction for me was red.
Me too. In live time, it looked red. It was a bad challenge, really bad challenge. In fact, I was biting my tongue not to react on air because it looked bad.
This will probably be our best look at it. Ooh.
It is a bad challenge. It's mistimed, though. I'm okay with yellow, actually, there. It's not studs up. Neither leg is extended or locked out. Listen, it catches Remy Okunlola in a really awkward position, and it's a dark yellow. But I am okay with yellow there, and I don't think this one needs to be changed to a sending off.
Yeah, I think I'm with you now as well. Live, it looked like the studs. And just based on the reaction of Mike Noonan, it's not going to be a red here. We'll wait for the confirmation, but Mike Noonan's reaction tells you everything you need to know. I thought it hit the studs. I was with you, but obviously on second look, no contact from the studs. So dark yellow, probably yes. Orange card if such a thing existed, but we will carry on at 11v11.
Well, I think the reaction from Jeremy Gunn is as telling as anything with Fletcher Bank. Just saying it's not necessary there at midfield to go into that challenge. Listen, Fletcher Bank has been all over the field. He's been the best player on both sides of the ball, likely for Stanford all night. If you're going to chase the game with 22 minutes left against a quality Clemson team on the road in the elements, you're going to need all 11 players. And so a little bit fortunate is Fletcher Bank to stay on the pitch. And now, can you take that fortune and turn it into something good?
.23 minutes to play. Clemson the 1-0 lead. Centered, Meinhard lurking. Doesn't get all the way through. Next week's featured women's basketball game right here on the ACC network and the ESPN app. It's Cara Wood leading Syracuse against number 18 Maryland at the JMA Wireless Dome. Coverage begins Wednesday night at 7 Eastern. Conversation between Magnuson, Keel, and our referee. They'll redo the restart. The thing for Stanford this year has been they rely on such a tight core group of guys. There really isn't a lever to pull here for Coach Gunn. There's no 7-8 goal scorer you can bring in off the bench, a spark like that. Duncan Jarvie has 3 goals off the bench this season. That's something. You just go up and down the list. Liam Doyle, 1 assist. Alfonso Tenconi-Gradias, 1 assist. Kobena Kwakwa, 1 assist. Alex Chow, 2 assists. The bench is more of the service provider than it is the goal scorer. Mike Noonan unhappy once again with another call.
And it's a good point you make, though, Joe, about the levers you can pull if you're Jeremy Gunn. It's likely not going to be through a substitute. What it is going to be is getting Will Cleary and Palmer Bank, his wingbacks, a little bit further up the pitch and make it look less like a 5-3-2 and more like a 3-5-2. Get in wide areas, as you see here, and see if you can start to put some of those balls into the box. Looks like we're going to get a corner here.
We'll have a chance now from a set piece. They've squandered a lot of these today. It's their 6th corner. Offensively, they've been pretty solid in terms of the ACC, where they rank nationally, more of a mixed bag. Again, the clock bleeding down to the final 20. That's where they've been their best this season. 15 goals in the final 20 minutes of play, 10 in the final 10 minutes of play. From the corner, the header, it's almost right on time for Stanford. A little bit early, 30 seconds later, and we might have been talking about a goal there, given their track record this season.
Well, yet again, it's quality service into the box there from Zach Bohane. Looking to that back post, it looks to me initially like it's Will Clear that goes up and finds that header. Unfortunately, though, it's a deflection, I think, off his own player and just a goal kick coming.
Under 20, now into Stanford's zone. 15 goals, final 20 minutes of play this year. Down a goal here, ACC quarterfinal. Clemson looking to defend their title. Stanford looking for their first in their first year in the ACC. Gian, the assist on the goal. Gabe gives it away. Shizawa does well to win it right back, though, for Clemson. It's felt like they've gotten to the majority of the second balls today. It's helped them dictate the territory, the tempo. Gian driving. Yoshizawa slips it through. Trimnell centering. Yoshizawa has it, cutting. Yoshizawa, nowhere to go, ran into a wall of black jerseys. Floated back post. Musa lets it run by. Does keep it in, though. Okunlola. Thanks for Gian. It effortlessly just slips past two defenders.
Ron, it's been more of the same really since that Clemson goal, pushing Stanford so deep. You could see all 11 black shirts defending in their own third. Now see if you can break out in transition.
Patty, you go further back than I do, and that's not an age joke. We're not that far apart in age, but have you seen a player like John where you just can't get the ball off of him to this degree as a freshman? Hold on here, long shot from distance here, Cleary, juicy rebound. Clemson was waiting. They thought the whistle was going to blow. Play continued. Still loose now in the mixer. And cleared finally. They thought that was supposed to be their throw, Clemson, I think. Everybody just caught ball watching. And they're arguing with the referee now still.
Well, this is a good effort initially from distance from Will Riley. Pat Donovan does well to push it wide, but this is the second opportunity that unfortunately Stanford can't get a black shirt to. This is golden in the box for Stanford, and you see just the second one there, but now you're going to see Alex Chow reinserted into the game, see if you can get some fresh legs and go at Clemson a bit, because time is definitely ticking to find that equalizer.
Hooper over the top, glanced on, and it will trickle out for a goal kick. Here are next week's featured men's basketball games right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. Doubleheader Friday night starts at 6 Eastern with the Sunshine State rivalry between number 21 Florida and Florida State, followed by number 9 UNC hosting American at the Dean Smith Center. Then Saturday at noon Eastern, freshman phenoms Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple lead the Blue Devils against Wofford. Patty, getting back to that point, your time in the ACC, have you seen somebody this early as a freshman in Ransford John just be able to do what he does with the ball at his feet? Just it never feels like he's at risk of losing the ball, whether it's 2 or 3 guys around him.
I mean, to be honest, I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, I've played against midfielders. I've seen midfielders in the ACC that have that quality. But he brings something different, something very unique to the game in that we've talked about he's just got this 5'4" frame, very strong in that frame. But that low center of mass, he's so shifty and so clean with the ball. It's just so tough to get it off a player like that. And then you see when you get out in transition, as we did for that Clemson goal, the pace that he has in the open field. I mean, Ransford John, for as long as he stays in college, because potentially he's not a 4-year guy, he's going to be electric and creating a lot of issues in the ACC for any opponent.
This is one of those players where I think everybody around the ACC is just rooting for him to go pro. Well, now with under 15 to play, goal kick on the way. It's, again, a good time to remind that Clemson cannot switch off for even a second. That last chance that they had, Stanford, it came because Clemson switched off for a second. They thought it was supposed to be their ball. No whistle blew, guys looking around, and Stanford comes up with the chance. You cannot snap out of focus for even a second because Stanford will make you pay. We've seen them do it late in games all season long. 10 goals in the final 10 minutes of play. They scored 2 in the last 5 minutes to beat Notre Dame the other night. You have to maintain focus if you're Clemson through the final whistle. Okunlola wrestled down. Donovan won't be in any hurry to get this one back into play. Clock ticking down. The last save he made just his second of the day, and he slipped. That's something I mentioned in the first half. You got to watch for these goalkeepers when they try to get the ball up the field. You lose your footing, and if it goes the wrong way, you could be talking about the opposition having a free release to goal from about 30 yards out. Have to keep an eye on the footing now in the late stages as well. Meinhard down in the corner. A little too early to be doing that intentionally. Just a ball that happened to lead him that way. Gabe. Lundegaard splits it through. Trimnell ran into Yoshizawa, but comes away with it. Trimnell for Gian, wants to get it onto his left foot if he can. Instead, he finds Musa. Wahab Musa, step over, still with it, tried to get it back to Gian. We're not on the same page, though. Gian went right, ball went left. Yoshizawa wins it back, spins, has it blocked. Illuminato, Ransford Gian going for goal. Dozen minutes to go. Stanford had 4 shots in the opening 12 minutes. Only had 3 since. And now it's got to be more urgent from the Cardinal.
Well, they got to start going a bit more direct. See if you can lump some balls forward, get some balls in and around that attacking third of Clemson, because really put the first 10 minutes of this game aside. We haven't seen a lot through possession for Stanford in ways that they could break Clemson down. So when you need to manufacture a goal, can you go a bit more direct? Can you make it a little less pretty in this game? And see if you can get a bounce here or there to find a chance on Patrick Donovan's net.
Nice for Gian, taken down. We've seen some crazy finishes already through the first round. The save off the line in the NC State UVA game, Stanford's own hectic finish. See if we have another one in store.
Oh, this was a tremendous save from Nick Dang to keep that Virginia lead in the win. And then this is a goal you may never see again in college soccer from 65 yards. Just a looper from Hooper to beat Notre Dame in the last second of the game and set up this matchup that we've seen this afternoon.
And we only have time to show you that one, and it was obviously the most epic thing that happened in that game with 1 second left, but that doesn't even begin to tell you the story of the final 5 minutes there. Again, in that game for Stanford, Will Riley scored to give them the lead with 5 minutes to play. Then with 12 seconds left, Notre Dame ties it on a crazy indirect free kick. And then with 1 second left off that ensuing kickoff that you saw there is when Hooper scored. So we show you the tip of the iceberg for that one, but that finish could have had a whole video package of its own.
Well, we talk about the implications for Stanford in that game, and for good reason. Sets up the matchup here tonight, but that result will likely knock Notre Dame out of the tournament. And so for Chad Riley and his Fighting Irish, that is a tough, tough way for your season to end.
Now Meinhard. Yoshizawa lays it off. Musa waited for it. Well done by Fletcher Bank to get there first. Late decision to award the free kick here for Stanford. Under 10 to play, promising moment here.
Well, and in a game in which you've struggled to manufacture chances through the run of play, this is a very dangerous spot for a free kick. You see Will Riley trying it over to take it, but you get a look here, again, at the physicality of Jackson Kill straight up against Mag.
Bohane standing over it with Riley. Right on the outskirts of shooting distance. Can you try and skip this one off the slick surface to get that carom that troubles Patrick Donovan? Maybe that's the aim here.
Well, it's a very high line from Clemson. This ball's going to have to be clipped over the top. Not going to be able to get a ton of pace on it.
Bohane goes short, played in behind. Keel was there, cut off by Lola, who's fouled.
Well, in hindsight's 20/20, but I do not like this decision from Stanford, trying to slip one in behind, get past a very speedy Remy Okunlola from that position. And in a game in which you need to manufacture a goal, free kick from 30 yards, you got to be putting the ball in the box, seeing if you can get a redirection and potentially a chance on frame.
Eight to play. These teams met in the Elite Eight last year. Clemson, 2-0 victory, and route to their second national title in 3 years. Meinhard's goal holding up right now.
Well, and it was just a driving run from Ransford Gunn to set up Alex Meinhard, who did just a tremendous job of cutting this ball back, showing composure in and around the box, and tucking one past Rowan Schnebley to make this game 1-0. That is a fantastic finish from Alex Meinhard, and potentially the lone goal of this game.
And another thing that we warned you about early on, if you think all the way back, opening 5-10 minutes of this game, remember the long throw that Stanford had that they treated like a corner that led to Clemson's first really good transitional moment. Told you guys to keep that in mind, just how dangerous they are in transition, Clemson, on any set piece Stanford would have. Lo and behold, that's what came to pass. This Clemson team is lethal when it comes to their speed and transition, of course, with John pulling the strings. Continue to keep that in your mind now, because Stanford is going to have to commit more numbers forward, and it's going to leave them susceptible to an insurance goal for Clemson. Player down now for the Tigers. Stop the clock at 6:46. For those of you who are starting to shuffle in expecting Wake Forest at SMU. It's going to start on the ESPN app. That's the number 5 seed Wake Forest, the number 4 seed SMU. Musa just lost his footing and felt it right when he got back up, and he had to go back down. Last 5 ACC tournaments have seen Clemson in the mix at the end, all but 1 year. They win it in 20 and 23, runners up in 19 and 22. Lone exception was that 2021 season. 2021 would, of course, go on to end up as the year where they had to just reshuffle the deck a little bit. Ended up getting back a national championship. So if you look at it from that perspective, Patty, in each of the last 5 years, Clemson has played in a final. They played in 4 of the last 5 ACC championships. The 1 year that they did not play in the ACC final, they won the national title. They know how to get it done under Mike Noonan now. In crunch time, in tournament time, and here they maybe go again. Ransford Gian splitting through. Ransford Gian still with it. Gian muscles off another. Gian cutting in. Lays it off for Meinhard. All the way across. It's settled for Illuminato. Took a deflection out for a corner. That was starting to look like that famous Maradona run from midfield, just past defender after defender for Ransford Gian.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me know where I can sign up to watch Ransford Gian all afternoon, every afternoon. He is so fun to watch. Look at this, just bodying off player after player. These driving runs through midfield have caused so much havoc on that Stanford back line. This one, more of the same and creating chances for Clemson. Ransford Gian, the freshman, has been just electric for this Tigers team.
6 more minutes. These teams have a special place in the history of college soccer over the last decade. Clemson, 2 national titles in the last 5 years. Stanford, a trio leading into that 5-year stretch. They've accounted for 5 of the last 9 national championships. That's why it was always a dream matchup to ponder with them in the same conference. Whether it was in the regular season, where Stanford beat Clemson 3-2 this year, or now in tournament time. I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup for years to come. Donovan clears it to safety. These are the moments, too, final 5 minutes, where you have to remember it's a goalkeeper making just his 2nd start for Clemson. As Stanford commit bodies forward and balls forward. How does he handle the pressure, Patrick Donovan? Hasn't really faced a pressure situation like this yet. Finishes a 2-2 draw against Virginia Tech when he came in cold for the injured Joseph Endema. Last game against Louisville was cruise control late on. So how does he respond? Surely he'll be tested in the final 5 minutes. Cannot imagine Stanford lets this game go by without one last chance. It won't happen here. Fletcher Bank commits the foul. He's already on a yellow, keep in mind.
And just looking to get this ball in behind our Stanford Cardinal, looking for Fletcher Bank. But yet again, as we've said so many times, it seems this afternoon, Remy Okunlola doing a good job in the right spot, uses his frame, shields the ball away, and wins the free kick to allow Clemson to get out.
Under 4. Gabe recovers it. Gian up the wing. Cut out by Bank. Floated long. And across the line. Out for a Clemson throw. Clemson making a late change here. Clock stops. James Kelly comes on for Misei Yoshizawa. And a player down now for Stanford as well. It's Nick White, who stepped in as the starter in lieu of Dylan Groneveld with his injury. It's heading to a cut on his face now. As the penny handed to him for a moment here by Tenconi Gradias, who's coming on. White looks like he wants to get right back out there, and with his height, you'd want him maybe on any ball over the top. Trying to sort through who is and should be on the field now. I think White thinks he's going back out there, but I think he's coming to the realization now that he was subbed off by Tenconi Gradias.
Well, I think that's changed for Tenconi and Gradias, who's clearly an attacking player. May just be tactical in that Jeremy Gunn had to take off Nick White at least for a period of time, and so just adding an attacker now for the final 3 minutes. See if you can lump some balls forward and find one of those attacking players to potentially get an equalizer.
And what you just saw right there, Alex Meinhard tracking back and battling to win that ball. That's part of the quality and the characteristics that have allowed Clemson to have this run that they've had these last few years.
Well, this is your veteran captain, goal scorer, sure, but he knows that what's at stake here. A 1-0 lead against a quality Stanford team, a chance at the ACC tournament semifinals on the line. That's what you want to see from a very veteran player, Alex Meinhard.
Down in the corner, 2.5 to play. Clemson throw. Falls for Rez for Gian. Back to Gabe. 2 minutes remaining here at Riggs. Meinhard's goal holding up. Clemson right now putting on a clinic at how to just take the remaining time off the clock. They've kept it in the attacking half for about a minute. Throw down in the corner. James Kelly holding it up. Still with Clemson now along the end line. 90 seconds. This will help them out even further now. Will Riley commits the foul.
Well, yet again, Ransford John in the right spot just to poke this one away and win the free kick that potentially will salt this game away. That guy has been everywhere all afternoon for the Tigers. They're making a really important defensive challenge. Again, those of you looking for Wake Forest, SMU, it's coming up as soon as we go final here. We'll send you out. Dallin Cuff and Jamie Watson have the call. If you're impatient and you need these next couple of minutes, you can find it on the app. In the meantime, go double screen here, because this finish could be dramatic. If Stanford could even get the ball to the other end. It's been about 2.5 minutes now that Clemson has just kept it at this end of the field. Under a minute remaining. Long throw out toward midfield. Stanford gets it into Clemson territory finally, but that's short-lived. Schnebly. Noah Adnan, 30 seconds remaining, and he gives it away. That might already be enough for Clemson. By the time they get this ball, throw it toward the corner and go from there. Unless Dylan Hooper's got another midfield miracle, Clemson's going to the semifinal here. And this should be enough to salt away this game. And Man, what a game it was. I mean, this was a back-and-forth affair. Clemson was the better team, as you see, just another takeaway there in the attacking half. But Clemson was the better team, and they showed, almost a late chance there, they showed just why they are a contender, not only to win the ACC tournament, but to defend as national champions. It was a complete performance. They frustrated Stanford. Stanford was unable to find chances through the run of play, and ultimately,